So I think I've decided I'm going to take a crack at making an entire instrument from scratch. And as you know, I live in a motorhome, so I'm probably going to be breaking a lot of rules and kind of building this thing the Dan Thompson way. I'm already breaking the first rule, and I'm building it entirely out of scrap wood that I've come across. This wood came from my uncle's house. After the cabinet builders were done, I asked if I could harvest some scrap wood. So I got a couple of slabs of maple, and then the rest is just maple plywood, actually. So I've always wanted a fretless piezo only bass, so I'm going to try my best shot at making a fretless piezo bass out of this and just the tools that I can carry with me in my motorhome. Either this is going to be really awesome or this is going to be an epic fail. Either way, it should be fun, so stick around. Alright, so I think the biggest limitation that I've hit so far is just the awkward shape of my scraps. And so I'm just trying to plan out my build here, but I think I came up with a design idea that I like. So we'll just go ahead and start gluing things together and see if we can't figure it out. Alright, if you think that I haven't broken any of the rules of guitar building yet, just wait and see. Obviously, my fingerboard is a lot thicker. I don't have a whole lot of faith in this plywood because I decided to lay it horizontally instead of vertically. Vertically would have given me more strength in my neck. Horizontally, I think it's just going to look cooler. The reason why I decided to leave my fingerboard so thick is because there's going to be a lot of strength in this fingerboard. The problem is the truss rod would probably be too deep in the neck to really access it well in order to make adjustments. So my solution is I'm actually just going to route the truss rod channel into the fingerboard as opposed to into the neck. And that'll put the truss rod where it's supposed to be, but you know, I'm not an expert. I just pretend like I am on YouTube, so we'll see how this goes. I gotta admit, I'm shocked at how well this worked. It's gonna be about perfect for our fingerboard. So, Dan Thompson way. The wrong way, but faster. Man, I wish someone would teach me how to use a chisel, because I am fairly certain I'm not doing this correctly. Alright, it is time to make sure that my fretboard is perfectly flat before I start radiusing it. And I picked this specific slab of maple for the neck because it was the flattest piece that I have. And it still looks incredibly flat even after all that I've put it through. So I don't have a thickness planer, which would be the right way to do it. I actually don't even have a regular handheld planer. I am just going to scribble on some pencil all the way down, and then I'm going to use my sanding beam that I use for leveling frets. That's really just going to tell me if I have any trouble spots and if I need to have this planed or not. Now I am making this a fretless base, which is going to save me the trouble of having to saw out all my fret spacings and then install fret wire, and then of course do all the fret dressing. But the flip side to that is that with it being fretless, this thing needs to be perfect. There can be no voids or bumps in this at all, otherwise that's going to translate to pinched off notes. It's not going to play properly. So for fretless, it needs to be pretty perfect. Alright, so now this fingerboard is now exactly as flat as my leveling beam, and I don't think I can really ask for it to be flatter than that. So we'll go ahead and start putting a radius. I did buy a special tool for this job. It is a 12-inch radius sanding block. It was really cheap. I got it on Amazon, I want to say for like $13, and it's small and lightweight. It's a tool that I can carry in my motorhome. Oh, I almost forgot. And you do the same thing and add some pencil to the middle. And once the pencil's all gone, then I'll know that I reached the middle in every spot. And in theory, kind of just like crowning a fret, I could leave just a little stripe right in the middle, and that would tell me that I haven't messed up how level this fretboard is. All right, now I got that nice thin pencil shade all the way down. I'm gonna do the same thing, but with 120 grit. Same base, different place. So I think I've come up with a bridge design that I like. I'm gonna do a string through body, and I'm gonna leave the bridge posable to adjust for intonation. So this is gonna go right here, and the strings are going to hold it in place, stringing down through the body. You guys might be wondering why I decided to go with a wipe-on poly finish instead of my normal Formbee's tongue oil finish. And that's because Formbee's, unfortunately, was bought out by Minwax. And the Minwax tongue oil formula is not the same. And I even looked online to see if I could buy some on eBay of the old stock Formbee's tongue oil, and it's going for just an outrageous price that I'm not willing to pay. And so I had pretty good results with the poly when I was refinishing the countertops in my remodeled motorhome, which, by the way, if you guys want to see a video of that, it's going to be uploaded on my family channel. So make sure you go subscribe to youtube.com/rockinandrollin if you want to see that. And so I thought I'd try poly again on an instrument. I didn't have good results with it the first time I tried it, but I think it's a little bit better this time. It's definitely not Formbee's tongue oil, which is a bummer, but it is better than the Minwax tongue oil. So if you guys know of any products that are comparable to Formbee's tongue oil finish, let me know. I'm all ears. I'm definitely in search of a new product. So let me know in the comments if you have any ideas. Honestly guys, I gotta say, I had no idea how this project would turn out when I started out, and I even had doubts about myself. But I can honestly say that this thing far exceeded my expectations. It is almost perfect. Now I say almost because while I did measure to make sure with my string through bridge and my reverse headstock, I made sure that the string would actually run the whole length. The only thing I didn't measure was that the wound portion would actually make it to the nut. So you can see on a few of the strings, we get to the nylon wrap at the end before it hits the nut. Now, when I originally did my mock-up, I used a different brand of strings and that wasn't an issue. So I don't know if it's just because I use these roto sounds that that's an issue. It could be the case, or it could be that just the other brand that I used was able to reach the full length, and that was kind of the exception. So I'm kind of bummed about that. I just adjusted the nut to compensate. It is an adjustable nut, so no bummers there. And if I end up putting new strings on it down the road that do reach the whole way, then I'll just adjust the nut to compensate. But other than that, this thing is absolutely immaculate. This is my first from scratch build. So I went ahead and put a serial number on it, 001. And it's very special to me. So this one is for sale on my website, but I'm not gonna let it go cheap because it is my first one. And so if it doesn't sell, I'm just gonna be happy to keep it for the rest of my life. So if you wanna see more builds like this, I want to encourage you to support me on Patreon, because building from scratch, there's way less opportunities for sponsored content and affiliate sales as opposed to doing product reviews. And I told you that I'm gonna be doing less product reviews going forward and more of this DIY content. So if you wanna see more of this, definitely check out my Patreon page. In fact, my $5 plus Patreons get entered into giveaways from time to time. And we have a Patreon winner to announce. All right, here is the Patreon post. Who wants this guitar? This is the Firebird that Brad Angove and I collaborated on together. And there were 8 people that commented they wanted to win this guitar. So we're gonna use a random number generator to see who won. Number 7. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Tony Butterworth, you are the winner of the Firebrad non-reverse semi-hollow Firebird. And if you like this kind of DIY content, stay tuned for next week where I'm going to be reviewing a DIY bass 2-band kit. So if you're a bass player, you're not going to want to miss that. I'm Dan, this is Guns & Guitars, and I'll see you next week.